Hey guys, this is the United States and Canada retest. If you're taking this test, it is because you did not pass your Unit 2 test. Make sure that you answer the correct answers on your play posit, and then make sure you show your teacher your play posit score in order so that we can regrade your test. So let's start off with question number 1. It says, what country is credited for the beginning of democracy? So China has always had a very different type of government from what we have. They've had emperors and whatnot, and so we know China is out. And then Spain is also out because they've had kings and queens and monarchs, and that is something that democracy is definitely not following. So using that information, we now are left with France and Greece. Now, if you think back to your 3 branches of government modules, you'll see that there was a video there. And in that video, it talked about what country democracy is modeled after. So if you don't remember between France and Greece, please make sure to watch that video and then select your answer. Question number 2. The court system belongs to this American branch of government. So here in the United States, we have 3 branches of government. We have the executive, we have the legislative, and we have the judicial. So the executive, that's like the president and his cabinet, and they enforce the laws. The legislative, that's like the Senate and the House, and they help make the laws. And then judicial is like the Supreme Court, and they help interpret the laws and what is and is not constitutional. So using that information, we are looking for the court system of the American branch in the American government. So here we know that's not going to be the Canadian Senate, and then it's also not going to be the head of state, okay, since neither one of those is a branch in the American government. So once you have figured out whether it's A or D, make sure you select your answer and then move on to the next one. Number 3, why didn't the founding fathers of America want another king? So thinking back to your Hamilton videos and to your videos to your breakup text with King George, we know that there was a lot of problems between the United States and King George, and so they didn't want another form of king or another type of government where only one person had the power. They wanted to make sure that multiple people, that there were multiple ways of doing checks and balances. And so that's why they came up with this system where they have the executive, the legislative, and judicial, because there's always different ways for legislative to check the president to check these right here. And so they wanted to make sure that America didn't have another king, another way that we only had one person that was in charge. And so they definitely didn't want a queen either. And so thinking back to it, they still wanted a leader. They still wanted some form of government. They just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just one person with all the power. And so I can go ahead and eliminate A. So now, using what I just told you and what you know, go ahead and select between B and D. B says they wanted a government where no one person had all the power. C says they couldn't afford another expensive crown. Question number 4. Where did the first colonies establish cities? So if we look at this map that is down here, okay, the first 13 colonies, they are somewhere over here, okay? They are roughly around this area. And so if you look at what is near there, okay, we have this ocean, that is near the 13 colonies. And so we can say that we can eliminate A because it says on the west coast near the Rocky Mountains. So first of all, never eat soggy watermelon. West coast is all the way over here. We're talking about the 13 colonies right over here. So it's a pretty far distance. So we know that we're not talking about that. And Rocky Mountains are nowhere near. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate A. Then B says in the tundra of Canada. So we've already talked about the Canadian tundra. It is somewhere over here. You wrote the stories and you saw the pictures. It's somewhere that's very difficult for anybody to live there. And so it would have been very difficult for the colonists to establish any form of cities there. So B cannot be eliminated as well. Now, using the information that we just learned and looking at this map, okay, take a minute and look at this map. You now have to select between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mississippi River, okay? Keep in mind that the colonies were somewhere over here, okay? And select, were they there near the North Atlantic Ocean or the Mississippi River? Okay, question number 5. Which two physical features are shared between Canada and the United States? And so, looking at this, we know that Yukon Territory, that is Canada, okay, it's not down in the U.S., and then also Gulf of Mexico, that's all the way down here. Canada is right over here. So they don't, Gulf of Mexico is not near Canada, so I can go ahead and eliminate that. And so that leaves me with either A, the Rocky Mountains and Mississippi River, or B, the Great Lakes and Rocky Mountains. So let's look at where these are located. I am going to use pink to show A, and I am going to use blue to show B. Okay, or actually let me use purple. Okay, so the Rocky Mountains and Mississippi River. The Rocky Mountains are right over here. Okay, and so if you look, this red border right here, this is the border between the United States and Canada. And so the Rocky Mountains. And then the next one that we said was the Mississippi River. And the Mississippi River is down here. It goes all the way over here. So it's down here. It goes all the way over here. And then it stops right over here. Okay. And so let me actually select a color that's more visible. There we go. Okay. And these are the Rocky Mountains. And so you're looking where both physical features are shared between the United States and Canada. And so now I'm going to use purple to show you the Great Lakes and Rocky Mountains. So once again, the Rocky Mountains are these right here, okay? And then the Great Lakes are these right here. And so once again, the border between Canada and US is this red part right here. And so you're looking for the landform that is in both United States and Canada. And so using that information, either select between the pink, Rocky Mountains and Mississippi River, so I labeled that pink, or the purple, the Great Lakes and the Rocky Mountains. And you're looking for the one that is shared between both Canada and US. Question number 6. Yukon Territory is in the northern part of Canada. Why don't more people live there? Well, if you remember your tundra story, it's a very, very, very cold place. And being human, it's extremely hard to live anywhere that doesn't have food, water, or shelter. So using that information, we know that it has nothing to do with gold. And it also has nothing to do with hockey. So now you are left between A and C. A says nuclear testing has left the land uninhabitable. habitable, sorry. And then C says it becomes extremely cold and food is hard to come by. So remember, humans, we need water, we need food, and we need shelter. Okay, and it's also important that it's somewhere where the weather allows us to live at. Okay, number 7, the Canadian government is considered A. So the Canadian government and the American government, they both share some similarities. They have some differences, but they also have some similarities. And one of them is that they allow people to have a say, so it's not going to be a dictatorship. They don't have only one person in power. They also don't have communism because, as I've mentioned, they have different forms of checks and balances and things like that. And so there are some similarities between the United States, and people do have a say in everything that happens. And so now go ahead and select between A and D. Okay, number 8, the ability to own and operate your own business with little government intervention is called. So democracy is a form of government. It's not the ability to operate your own business. Okay, and socialism is also another form of government. It's, once again, not the ability for you to own and operate your own business. So thinking back at your project, we talked about this. We had a near pod, and we said that there were 4 main characteristics of this system. And so using that information, go ahead and select between B, the free enterprise system, and C, capitalism. Okay, question number 9. Which group of words reflects culture? Okay, so we have music, technology, business. B, traditions, where you live, the pets you own. C, music, food, religion, traditions. And D, religion, brands of shoes you wear, your favorite color. So looking at this, technology and business are not a reflection of culture. They usually, all cultures, or at least most cultures, have their own share technology, and they all have, similar businesses. So remember, culture is something that reflects your upbringing, what you celebrate, what you do, what you listen to, what you eat. It's something that is learned. And so here, traditions, where you live, and the pets you own. The pets you own aren't a reflection of your culture, so we can go ahead and eliminate that. And so now we're left between C and D. C says music, food, religion, and traditions, and D says religion, brands of shoes you wear, and your favorite color. So which one of those reflects culture? And finally, question number 10. What is not a right guaranteed to a United States citizen by the Bill of Rights? So freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms, freedom of religion, or freedom to use technology. So the First Amendment is freedom of speech, okay? We know this because we can say anything within reasons, and the government can't give consequences on something that, is dangerous to somebody else. Here in the United States, a lot of people came because of the freedom of religion, because they didn't have freedom of religion in their own country. So that was something that was really important to our founding fathers. And so now you're left between B and D. Freedom to bear arms is freedom to own guns and use guns. There can still be rules as to how you can get a gun and stuff like that, but it's just saying that the citizens have a right to it. And then freedom to use technology, as you know, is freedom to use any form of technology. So this is asking which one is not a right guaranteed. So also think about when it was that the Bill of Rights was written. That's a good indicator as to what was not existent yet. So keeping that in mind, go ahead and answer B or D, and then show your teacher your play posits like that. She can put in